5 ministers sacked, 7 appointed by Tinubu as cabinet reshuffle takes effect. Maiduguri farmers warn of food price surge after devastating floods. Police rescue 4 trafficked children in Plateau, arrest 25 suspects. Away from Nigeria, fuel truck explosion in Uganda's Kigowa town kills 11. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's news update. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Thanks for joining us. Now, President Bola Tinubu's much-awaited cabinet reshuffle was announced on Wednesday in the course of the Federal Executive Council at State House, Abuja. The realignment of the cabinet was part of implementation of 8 far-reaching actions to reinvigorate his administration's capacity for optimum efficiency in line with his commitment to deliver on his promises to Nigerians. In the realigned cabinet, the Federal Executive Council scrapped the ministries of Niger Delta Development Ministry and that of Sports Development. While the Ministry of Niger Delta Development has been scrapped, a new ministry known as the Ministry of Regional Development has been created to oversee the activities of all regional development commissions, namely Niger Delta, Southeast, Northeast, Northwest Development Commissions. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Sports Development is being wound up and will transfer of its functions to the National Sports Commission in order to develop a vibrant sports economy. A new helmsman, Shehu Diko, has been appointed as chairman of the National Sports Commission. Also, the Federal Ministry of Tourism and the Federal Ministry of Arts and Culture have been merged to become Federal Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy. Over in Borno State, Maiduguri farmers have predicted hike in food commodities following the flood that devastated homes, claimed lives and destroyed farmlands across Borno State. The disaster happened at the peak of the rainy season when farmers invested hugely in food production for consumption and trade. Trust TV's Bitrus Kurisi has more in this report.
In 2023, farmers in Borno State experienced low rainfall as a result of climate change. The rainfall deficit withered crops and farmers recorded poor harvest. Farmers again this year are expecting low yield due to flood disaster that claimed lives, displaced millions and swept away farmlands. The devastation affected Maiduguri and neighboring local government areas, predominantly farming communities. Modu Kori is a farmer. He has been into farming a variety of crops in different locations for several years. According to him, there is prospect of bumper harvest this year as most farmlands were destroyed by flood. He said the impact will no doubt cause food scarcity and increase in food prices.
We farmed much this year, but the flood destroyed it. In some other places, it didn't affect their crops. Few were lucky to have good yields, and I doubt it will be enough for them, and this will cause poor harvest.
The
flood affected our farm, and the flood came with pests, which also destroyed other farms. Many people lost their farms. We are having that feeling that price of food commodities will increase because, as you can see, the crops planted haven't riped. As you can see, we are harvesting the little beans we got. Maize, guinea corn, all have been swept in the water. And when such disaster happens, there will be scarcity of food.
The farmers here are seeking for government intervention.
We want the government to support the affected communities, especially those farms were impacted by the flood. And the federal government should please reduce the price of fuel because the food inflation is caused by the cost of fuel. The government should support us with farming inputs. We know with what has happened these past years, we pray that we don't experience it anymore.
The little left on unaffected farmlands, farmers will have no choice but to utilize it and hope that such disaster does not reoccur next season. I'm Bitrus Kuruti, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
Over in Plateau State, the police command has rescued 4 children who were allegedly trafficked by suspected child traffickers in the state. The Commissioner of Police, Olugbenga Adesina, disclosed this while addressing journalists on Wednesday at the command's headquarters in Jos. According to neighbor's daughter, the children were last seen with one comfort: a female who frequently visited her friend Adamubawa in the compound, often buying them biscuits. He added that upon receiving the report, police operatives swiftly took action, leading to the rescue of the 4 children and the arrest of 2 suspects in connection with the case. In a separate operation, the commissioner disclosed that 25 suspects had been apprehended for various offences across the state. Among them was one Emmanuel Joseph, who was caught with a fabricated pistol after robbing a female churchgoer of her phone and power bank valued at 75,000 naira. The police also busted a cybercrime ring involving 11 suspects, including 2 principal offenders identified as Ate Anthony Idiko and Daniel Idiko, both 23 years old. The suspects were reportedly involved in abducting senior school graduates, confining them to secluded residences, and coercing them into internet fraud. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has described the over 20 million out-of-school children in the country as potential bandits. Akpabio stated this during plenary on Wednesday while contributing to a debate on the compelling need to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children in Nigeria. The debate followed the report of the Senate Committee on Primary and Secondary School Education presented by its chairman, Senator Usman Lawal Adamu, during plenary. Akpabio said the menace of out-of-school children portends danger to the security of the country. After an extensive debate on the issue, Senator Sariki Dixon moved a motion for a national summit on the issue. The motion was seconded by the Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibrin. Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the national summit would deliberate and iron out issues related to out-of-school children to ensure the security of the country.
To consider the submission from the Ministry of Education and observe that there is urgent need to hit the ground and activate the roadmap of the federal government on curtail the out-of-school children. No tangible action has been taken by the ministry considering the out-of-school children since 2024, notwithstanding its relevance. There is no reliable data to date on the out-of-school children. This deserves urgent attention to tackle the menace.
So that we know, because this is clearly the future of Nigeria. And I pray that through the national summit, the resolutions to be implemented, issues to be well highlighted, and then all efforts to be made to bring this menace to an end so that our children can have a better future and not an adulthood in banditry, an adulthood in Boko Haram, an adulthood in fraud.
Over in the Green Chamber, on Wednesday mandated its commitment on power to investigate the recurrent collapse of the national grid and report back within 3 weeks. This followed the adoption of a motion of urgent international importance by Representative Mansur Manusoro at plenary. Soro, in his motion, expressed worries over the unending grid collapse, throwing the entire country into blackout and further compounding the economic hardship Nigerians are currently facing. He said power supply remained indispensable in boosting economic development and growth of any nation. Soro lamented that 8 incidences of national grid collapse had been witnessed in 2024 alone, describing the trend as worrisome.
The Nigerian nation has continued to witness unending power grid collapses, with 8 incidences occurring in 2024 so far. The House is disturbed that the entire states in the northeast, northwest, and some part of the north central zones has been thrown into darkness over the last 2 days in what the transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, described as faulty transmission lines. The House is worried that the unending grid collapse is coming at a time of worsening national hardship caused by the extreme naira devaluation by the embarked upon by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
For over 2 decades, Nigerian sport industry has declined significantly, with less progress in prominent African sports like basketball, boxing, football, and athletics. Factors contributing to this decline include inadequate administration, mismanagement, and carelessness from officials. An example is the omission of people Opili from the 100-meter event at the Olympic 2024, yet to be identified by the Nigerian officials.
The Nigerian government has dropped all charges against Gambaran, an executive at Binance Holdings who has been facing money laundering trial from detention since April. A lawyer representing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that is the prosecution agency, announced the withdrawal of the charges at the Federal High Court in Abuja Wednesday morning. The hearing, coming 2 days before the 25th October, earlier scheduled as the return date by the trial judge in the open court last Friday, appeared to have been intentionally held to avoid public attention as much as possible. Announcing the withdrawal of the charges, the lawyer said Gambaran, a United States citizen, was merely an employee of Binance, whose activities he was being prosecuted for. Mark Mordi, SAN, representing Gambaran, agreed with the prosecution, saying that his client was not involved in the company's broader financial decisions. In the security matters, troops of the 6th Division Nigerian Army on Wednesday averted what could have been a major petroleum tanker explosion in Port Harcourt. The division's Assistant Director of Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Danjuma Jonah, in a statement in Port Harcourt, said following a reported case of a tanker carrying premier motor spirit that had fallen at Humo Quarter Roundabout in Port Harcourt, the acting commanding officer, 760 Transport Battalion, Major Al-Mustafa Shawal Adams, swiftly mobilized and led the 6th Division fire crew to the scene to prevent any fire outbreak. The operation, which he said was conducted with sister agencies, ensured all safety and security protocols were strictly observed. He added that the area was cordoned off and all necessary preventive drills were carried out, adding that no life or property was lost as the situation was subtly brought under control. He noted that the General Officer commanding 6th Division Nigerian Army, Major General Jamal Abdul Salam, commended troops for the swift response and reassured the people of River State and environs of the resolve of the division to continue carrying out people-centric operations. Now, just as we have just recapped, the President had a reshuffle of his cabinet today that took place at the Federal Executive Council meeting. The Ministry of Niger Delta has now been merged and rather changed to the Ministry of Regional Development, and then all the commissions, as the Northwest, Northeast, Niger Delta, and Southeast and Southwest commissions now fall on that. And the Sports Ministry has now been moved to the Sports Commission, is now under the National Sports Commission. Joining us to shed more light on this situation via Zoom is the Special Assistant to the President on Digital Media, Otega Ogra, will be giving us an insight on the restructuring of the cabinet that was announced today. Now, Otega, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the news update.
Good evening. Glad to be here.
Okay, so now this is a much awaited cabinet reshuffle. We've been hearing about it long before the October 1 Independence Day celebration. And many people feel that the president did not go far enough. Now, some were probably expecting a complete overhaul. And is this as far as the president could go, or are we to expect more actions?
So thank you very much. Today, as you just said, the president's 5 ministers were let go. 10 were assigned to new ministerial portfolios, and another 7 were sent to the Senate for nomination. And what the president has done, which he said before, is that we are going to work based on empirical evidence, based on data, which is gathered on a quarterly basis by one of the departments under him, and that was what they used to make the decision. So this decision was intended to, streamline operations of various government ministries. That's the merger of some of the ministries and the removal of some, as well as, optimize efficiency in the running of the ministries.
All right. So now, is this to say that we're going to be expecting a smooth and better delivery of projects due to this, of course, like less now the sports ministry that has been scrapped and now put under the National Sports Commission? Are we expecting better? Are we seeing better handling of sports events in the country, and equally the creative economy and all that?
So, like you see, the National Sports Commission has set up, it regulates all sports within the country. That the National Sports Commission has set up. And I think the president deemed it fit that rather than have another level of or layer of bureaucracy in a ministry such as that, why not just let the National Sports Commission, handle it? So we believe that will lead to even greater efficiency. There's less bureaucracy. It will lead to more optimal operations for the National Sports Commission, since they already have direct access to all the sports bodies and organizations within Nigeria.
All right, now, is this move, there's the issue of the economy. We all know what's happening with the economy. I'm sure you can't even deny that yourself. So is this supposed to help with this economic situation? Because it's like people out there are saying this is just a piecemeal and does not address the fundamental problems plaguing the country, which is the economic situation of Nigeria.
So I think it's important that we situate what the fundamental problem with the economic situation of Nigeria is, which is one, we had a subsidy issue, which for 40 years we had tried to remove, and we had never been able to remove it, costing this nation, in FX bills of about 3 to 4 trillion every quarter. And that was something that we couldn't sustain. So that had to go. Luckily enough, the president was deemed it fit. Immediately he came in to also set up the CNG program. However, on the larger scale of the economy, we need to also understand another thing, which is one, that Nigeria for the longest time had used short-term solutions to solve long-term problems. The unsustainability of those short-term solutions is what has led to a lot of issues that we've had because we were just postponing the rainy day. Luckily for us, Mr. President, the Tinubu administration, since they've come in, have put in a lot of things in place, on the economy side, on the finance side, even looking now towards the tax, issues to see how we can remove the burdens of a lot of these impediments to individuals and small businesses and even larger businesses and retool them for, excellence in a way that they're able to support the Nigerian economy. But beyond that, we're seeing that the numbers at the top level are already aligning with our vision and goals. You can see inflation is already coming down. Inflation was initially caused by, the removal of the fuel subsidies, as well as the FX, the foreign exchange rates that moved, up. And that is something that we are actually proud of because we can see the numbers. Our foreign exchange reserves are actually rising. Like I said earlier, inflation has come down, and other economic indices like that are actually trending positively. Like the president has also said, President Bola Tinubu has said time without number that he knows that this is actually difficult for a lot of Nigerians. But in the long run, we expect that all Nigerians will benefit. This is a pro-people government. And everything we're doing is to ensure that Nigerians in the mid to long term, as well as the generations that are yet unborn, would continue to benefit from the impact of the reforms that we've taken so far.
Okay, so Ogra, just before you go, and briefly if you can, could you tell us what to expect going forward?
The president said it very clearly in his statement to the ministers, whilst thanking those who were being let go. For the others, they said, we promised Nigeria something, and we must fulfill those promises to them because we have an aspiration to move Nigeria into a nation where you and I and every other person, every other Nigerian citizen can be proud of. Nigeria is too good. We are too excellent to be where we are. And that is painful enough for us in government. It's painful enough for the Nigerian people.
Okay.
So we expect every minister to put in their best. Everyone that's been appointed, to go beyond normal to ensure that the dividends of what we promised Nigerians come to fruition.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ortega Ogra, for that insight on the cabinet reshuffling and what's happened with the current administration.
Thank you very much.
We were speaking to the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Digital Media, Ortega Ogra, will give us insight on the cabinet reshuffle that took place today at the FEC meeting. Now to more stories. In the heart of Zulu Emirate, a major road, Koko Da Road, once hailed as a lifeline, now stood as a symbol of neglect and despair connecting the Emirate to the state capital and beyond. Its dilapidation had far-reaching consequences on security, agriculture and social economy of the people of the 4 local emirate governments that makes up the Zulu Emirate. This is the story.
Zulu Emirate, renowned as the food basket of the state, boasts a rich cultural heritage that has been hindered by the deplorable condition of the Koko Da Road. This vital artery connecting the emirate to the state capital and beyond has suffered from many years of neglect.
We usually stand here from morning until evening, sometimes in the rain and mud. We are suffering greatly. In fact, even now, the road hasn't dried and we can't load our vehicles.
For farmers, the road's debilitation spelled doom for their livelihoods, with farm produce rot on the roadside because buyers can't get to the local market due to bad roads. Bandits emboldened by the road's isolation terrorize travelers on a daily basis. Social ties frayed as families struggle to visit loved ones in the city.
I'm happy that His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, is taking this project seriously and taking it to himself because it affects us as a community and it affects the people, the people of Zulu Emirate. These are people that are very, very hardworking. We know that is the food basket of the state, and we know that most of the cash crops and food crops comes from that area. So it's not easy for people to access the markets and as well people to come and buy products from that end.
The contractor awarded the project in 2021 had only managed 5 kilometers in 3 years. Rumors is that the state government is planning to revoke the contract. As the days tick by, anticipation grew, with the suffering continue. The people have a sigh of relief when the federal government delegation came to assess the level of work done by the contractors handling the project alongside the state delegation headed by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly and the Commissioner of Works.
This is what we were expecting even before now. The minister is waiting for the report, and we have discussed with him that he will be sending a joint committee, a joint measurement report that will be on this Koko Da Mahuta Road, which maybe by next week, Tuesday, soonest, he will sign the report.
We are all here, so we are going to measure inch by inch, meter by meter, all the works done. If all of us agree, that is the end of determination. And Kebbi State will be given this road officially by the minister. But unless we finish this assignment.
The intervention by the government is expected to hasten the process of the work on this very important road. From Birnin Kebbi, Cynthia Yongu, Trust TV.
Away from Nigeria, in Uganda, the bodies of victims of a fuel truck explosion near its capital of Kampala were retrieved late Tuesday as investigators collected evidence at the scene in Kigogwa town. The truck overturned after an accident and later exploded, killing at least 11 people, including 2 minors. That's it for news updates at this time. For more of our news, programs and documentaries, please do want to follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Thank you for joining us at this time.